Hello guys, Robert1 here, and today I have my third place Brotherhood Open 2.5 edition Satellarknight deck profile. Now, before we actually get into the deck profile, I'm just going to say what 2.5 basically means. It's basically a lower class format to what we're normally used to playing. So it's a format that kind of brings back what current Yu-Gi-Oh is, whereas Yu-Gi-Oh is just it's more of a turn one based game where you go first, you win the game instantly, or you go second, you just OTK your opponent. And this is a format that kind of gets away from that a bit. There are still decks that can still make a very broken turn one board or can OTK still, but these decks are a lot weaker than what we currently have in the game. So instead of having like Orcus, Salamangreat, Pendulums, these decks are not allowed in the format, along with other choice cards along the lines of Ash Blossom, evenly matched impermanence, just because a lot of people can't afford these cards, and also because these cards are very broken in the format. And this is a format that's been tested by the Brotherhood for multiple weeks. And this tournament, by the way, before I go any further on this, was not a free win tournament. Honestly, there was a lot of money up for grabs, a lot of good players going. Like there was Team Shift players, to my knowledge, the Brotherhood team themselves, the Disciples, my team, Team Black Rose Dragon. There was a lot of different teams, and there was a lot of money up for grabs, with first place earning £180, second place earning 100, then 155 for third and fourth, and then 45 for fifth to eighth. So there was a lot of money up for grabs in this tournament, and I managed to come third. I secured a lot, so we also have an opening planned for you, which will be the Mystic Fighters box right here that I acquired because it was store credit money, and I thought, why not? I haven't opened the set, it might be nice. And, well, we're going to get into a deck profile. I'm going to show you the deck that I played. I want to do quick shoutouts as well, thanking my team, congratulating my mate Adam, who was on my team as well, who came fifth as well. So we had 2 members in Team Black Rose Dragon. Check out the Facebook page in the link description to see more about that. But without further ado, let's get into the deck profile to show you what my 2.5 format Satellarknight deck profile is. So obviously, this is a format where there's a lot of different decks. Like, it was 6 rounds. I played 5 of them because the round 1 I actually got the bye because of a slight little mishap where they didn't add me, so I became the bye instantly. But I had played 5 rounds. Round 2 technically was Rockets. Round 3 was Block Dragon OTK, which I actually lost to, which was played by a mate of mine, Leon. Then I played against Cosmo, which was just a 2-0, Mermail, which was a 2-1, very back and forth game, very good game. And then final round, I played against Unchained in the finals, which was X1, and actually did very well. It's just my deck had a lot of ways to counteract the Unchained deck. So that's my matchups. Very hard matchups, I'm going to say, for some of them. Like, they weren't easy, but it was a very good tournament. So let's get into the deck profile. I'm not going to go too deep into some of these choices, though. So first of all, we play triple Satellarknight Deneb. Standard, he's your Deneb, he's your searcher of the deck, he's your Stratos. You have to play him at 3. Free Altair, same as Deneb in a way. He summons Tellarknights from the graveyard. Very important that you play this card at 3. Do not play this card at less than 3 in the deck. Very important. Something that's a little different for some people, free Unkalahalahai. The reason we play free of this is because we want as many ways to get to Deneb as possible, and opening a Call of the Haunted or Monster Reborn with an Unkalahalahai essentially says I'm going to have a Deneb for the following turn, or on the turn it's summoned, so I can just go into my consistency, get to Altair, and then have my engine started. 2 Satellarknight Vega, because she summons Tellarknights from the hand. You don't really need more than one of her, more than 2, because if you draw multiples of her, then she's kind of a dead card, just because she can't summon herself. But outside of that, if you see her with any other Satellarknight monster, that's a guaranteed rank 4, so very good card in general as well. 1 Ausham as well, just because burn damage seemed very good, and I was able to Cowboy Ausham someone once throughout the day, and Gargoyle Cowboy people twice throughout the day for games, so very good card, just brings the life to points down a lot easier and can guarantee me game a little faster. For spells, though, also we're not playing any hand traps because I didn't really feel like hand traps like Ogre, Vela, like stuff like that in the main deck were necessary. But for spell cards, we played Triple Pot of Duality. There was the match that I actually lost. Game 1, I opened Triple Duality, which was against the Block Dragon OTK, and I just couldn't really do anything with Triple Duality, so I just used one normal summon the Dedeb, which I luckily had already, and set an Alpha, but my opponent just went off, so I wasn't able to do anything after my one negate. But you play 2-3 of this for the consistency. Triple Desires. If you're playing this deck in real life, please cut the Desires for Card of Demise. But throughout the day, this card was fine, being that it just gave you the additional +2. It can give you a Satellarknight plus a trap or 2 traps, which was really good. I don't think I banished 3 of any Satellarknights throughout the entire day. I know I banished 2 Altairs twice, but it hurt. But thanks to having like Call of the Haunted and stuff, it didn't really matter. 2 Cosmic Cyclone. I felt like back row would be a bit of a risk, so I wanted to play 2 Cosmic Cyclone just to deal with the back row. It came up at times, but at times also I got my life points were really low, so it became a dead card. But it became a bluff as well, which was okay, I suppose. 1 reinforcement to the army, searches Deneb, simple as that. And 1 Monster Reborn because he revives any Satellarknight monster or monster from opponent's graveyard. But for traps, we play 3 of the Satellarknight Solemn Judgment, send a Satellarknight to the graveyard, negate the activation of a monster, spell, or trap, and if you destroy that card, you draw a card. So very good. It's a +1. It's a -1 pretty much because you're negging it on the board, but you also neg your opponent 1 and you get to draw a card, which is nice. Plus at times you want to get rid of your Satellarknights just so you can summon them back from the grave. Triple Solemn Strike, because Solemn Strike is just another really good card, being that decks like Tenyi really flourished in this format, and Tenyi did actually end up winning the event, so good job for Henry, who was part of the Disciples team. Coming out on top of that. But Triple Solemn Strike, because of Solemn Strike is just a really good card against a lot of decks. It's a very good going second card, and if I go up against a monster-based deck, this card comes in clutch. Especially in the Cosmo matchup, I drew 3 of these, got myself down to 400, and was just surviving off of that, and it was very necessary, and I actually came out on top of that. Triple Solemn Judgment got me to the 400 life points against the Cosmo matchup. Solemn Judgment, just being able to negate anything, very important as well, just giving you that access to utility to stop your opponent from doing something whenever you want them to. Triple Compulse, because it's just a free removal, plus it has multiple purposes where you can return a Satellarknight monster on your board to your hand, and then just resummon it on the following turn. That did actually come up at one point where they were going to kill my Satellarknight monster, so I activated Compulse, returned it to my hand, and then just normal summoned it on the following turn so I could actually play the game. So Triple Compulse, very good. Double Crackdown, only saw it once throughout the whole event, and that was against the Unchained matchup. And honestly, this card is very strong, just being able to steal your opponent's monster. But obviously, we only used it once throughout the whole day, and it did come in clutch when I used it. Triple Call of the Haunted and 1 Oasis of Dragon Souls. Just wanted as many ways to summon monsters back from the graveyard as possible with the Call of the Haunted. But I felt like I only wanted to play 1 Oasis of Dragon Souls just because it changes the type of the monster. That can sometimes hinder me in a bit. Like if my opponent's playing a Floodgate deck, then they can Rivalry of the Warlords me, so I can't actually summon it back. Or if anything along those lines happens, then it's just a very hard matchup to do. So we played 1 Oasis of Dragon Souls and Triple Call of the Haunted, which was very strong, very helpful, especially when I Trivered, because this allowed me to recycle any of my monsters in my graveyard, essentially. And finally, we played 1 Imperial Order just for spell decks in general. We returned this to our hand 4 times, and every time we negated spells with it. But that's the main deck. Obviously, if there's stuff you wanted to change in this deck for a competitive deck, you should add in Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. You should add in Card of Demises. Just stuff along those lines that say that you can have more consistency cards and have more negation cards. You should also probably add in impermanences as well. And if you were to do that, I would suggest you cut like the crackdowns for the impermanences, Desires and a Duality for Card of Demise, and then probably for a third imperm, I would say probably cut the Monster Reborn, just because if you're playing Card of Demise, then Monster Reborn is not going to be very helpful. But yeah, that's basically the main deck. And if you were to also add Ash Blossoms, cut an Unkalahai, cut an Alsham, and cut a Vega, I would say, just because they don't really do much in the Demise build. But for extra deck, We did play one Lambda. We weren't allowed to play Isolde in the side deck extra deck because it's only allowed in the Noble Knight deck in the 2.5 format, just because of how broken it can actually be. So we played Lambda instead. If you were to play in an actual tournament though, cut the Lambda, put an Isolde in. It's a free consistency card. But yeah, one Lambda, one Borreload. We never made it throughout the day, but it's there for the instances where we just want to attack, steal opponent's monster. It's not the easiest thing to use in this deck because Altair says you can't attack with anything but Tellarknight monsters, but still, very good card, very strong card. One Gaga Cowboy. We killed people with this twice throughout the entire day. It was funny. It was really funny. One Exoton Knight. We never summoned it, but it's there for just board clearance. One Babushka. Never summoned it, but it's for like monster-based decks that we want to say no to. One Tornado Dragon. Made it once against Unchained. Came in a bit in clutch because it got rid of problem back row that were getting in the way. One Time Thief Redoer. Absolutely broken card. Being able to just steal the top card of opponent's deck and then utilize an effect depending on what it is. Like if I got a spell, I drew a card. If I got a trap, I removed the card, and if I got a monster, then I just banished it, made Triver, and then summoned it back in the end phase to have a utility on their turn. So, absolutely busted card. Free Satellarknight Triver. Being that Triver is just one of the best Xyz monsters in this deck, that just returns all cards back on the board, has great synergy with Call of the Haunted, being able to remove a card from your opponent's hand, and if you link away with this, then you can summon a Tellarknight monster back from the graveyard as well, to help you Triver Loop on the following turn, or even just have utility on your opponent's turn. So, just insane cards right here, just very good card in general. Two Satellarknight Deltaros. I only ever made one throughout the entire event, but it's basically there to have more removal. To be, if it leaves the board, if it dies, then you get to summon out a Tellarknight from the deck, and it just gives you that extra utility to just have more monsters to have free removal. And also, if you summon this and it has Xyz materials, your opponent can't chain to your summons. So, very good in general for that reason as well. Two Dark Tellarknight Batalimius, because this card says I'm a 1/2 monster Triver, so you have to play this. It discards a card, it detaches a material, and summons Triver from your extra deck on top of it, so very good card. And finally, one Constellarknight Diamond, because it is the last card in extra deck. We summoned it once, and it didn't help very much because it was against the Block Dragon OTK deck, and he had already his entire setup, so yeah, that's the main deck. We also played this because Shadows was a deck that was prominent in the format, so felt like it would come up. I didn't actually duel any Shadow players, so it didn't really do much. But for the side deck, now the side deck is a little different from what you would normally see, because this format is very diverse and there are tons of different decks that you could play, seeing as there were like 7 different decks in the top 8. Like 2 of them were Tellarknights, one was a Tenyi, the other was an Unchained. I think it was Unchained. Block Dragon OTK, Ballpark OTK, and some other decks that I can't actually remember at this moment in time. But side deck is diverse because of that. Starters, we played 2 Ogre. This came in against the Unchained only, but it's there for those decks that kind of have problem monsters on the board that you want to deal with. And also, it's mainly built to go second. 2 Effect Veiler for monster-based decks, just to be able to say, no, you can't have your effect, it's now not allowed. 2 Gamecill, the Sea Turtle Kaiju, because big monsters can go away, I don't want to see it. Plus, if you Triver, it comes back to your hand, and that's pretty good. 2 Nibiru for monster spam decks on your opponent's turn. Never used this at all throughout the whole tournament, but if it came up, it would have been very nice and would have helped a lot. Triple Pancrotrops just for back row based decks, any decks that make big monsters. It's a free summon, it pops a card on the board, and it's just really nice. 1 Raigeki and 1 Dark Hole, more board clearance if I go second. Just very good cards. I drew Raigeki once throughout the entire tournament, and that one time I actually drew it, I discarded it for the Dark Tellarknight, just so I'd be able to make Triver clear the board, and then just be like, well, now you're dead. And finally, 2 Heavy Storm Duster, 4 back row decks, just to have that additional back row removal. But that's the deck. Honestly, 2.5 open, it was not an easy tournament. It was a lot of fun though, and I did enjoy myself. Just being able to play in a tournament where I could have fun with myself, enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, and just feel like actually playing in the old days again was a lot of fun. And I came out winning and I came out doing really well for my team Black Rose, description as always. And just a few shout outs to my team, shout out to Kat, shout out to All of my friends, shout out to Adam, who came 5th, just 2 spots below me, mate, and lost out on captaincy. This tournament we were up for captaincy. I'm now captain of my team. And all of that, guys. So, yeah, this is the deck profile. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check the links in the comment section below for other videos and stuff along those lines. And I will see you guys in the next one. Robot1 signing out. Later all.